Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Casanelli and I have a lot to cover. It starts with turkey? No, it starts with Thanksgiving and some recipes, because we always get into the fun stuff before we get into more fun stuff, including a bunch of new Google announcement, Spotify removing one of its features and not replacing it with other things, the Twinkly lights that sync with music getting HomeKit support, 7-Eleven working with a company to bring Slurpees direct to your front door, plus so much more. Stay tuned for Smart Tech Today.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. And by BetterHelp. Join more than 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/STT. And by userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. Hey, welcome to Smart Tech Today. It's been a week since we last joined here together to talk about the exciting, dynamic, and sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am one of your hosts, Micah Sargent.
And I am your other host, Matthew Casanelli. Hello, Micah.
Well, hey there, howdy. It was a good Thanksgiving. I was only planning on making my world famous collard greens for Thanksgiving, as I do every year. But I ended up making my world famous collard greens and my now world famous pumpkin pie. And the reason why my pumpkin pie has become world famous is not only because I buy sugar pumpkins at the store. I cut them and roast them. I don't like to buy canned puree pumpkin. And really so that part is good. I want to get to the point where I'm growing my own pumpkins and using them from like my garden. That'd be super cool. But
if you're not growing your own pumpkins,
I mean, what are you even doing? I did rather, folks who watch this show will remember me talking about the Spice House before on this podcast. It was my pick of the week one week. I used the spices from the Spice House, including their pumpkin pie spice. So the recipe called for the normal spices, and you throw in those, but then I added an extra teaspoon of just pumpkin pie spice, which is a mixing of all of them. So it was a very spicy pie. And then I made some homemade, which is not very hard to do, homemade whipped cream, and piped that on there with some little rosettes. And it was.
Did you take a photo? I want to look it up on your Instagram or something.
I didn't post it, but I will somehow get it to Kevin, and then he can show you
Put it in the show notes.
Yeah, there we go. We'll put it in the show notes. How about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
Good. I feel like this is maybe one of the first times I've not traveled for it since I've moved to the Bay Area, just because it's always just kind of been like, go home to Portland for Thanksgiving. And we were kind of like, we always do that. And it is a lot, even though it's like obviously great to spend time with family, not to mention there's like new variants and things like that. So maybe it was good not to travel at the time. But we just kind of did our own Thanksgiving at home, and we made pumpkin pie from the can, I will say. So I was all proud of that, and now I just have zero.
No, it's okay. Look, that's the thing, is like canned pumpkin is not a bad thing. Of all of the sort of canned things you can get, the pumpkin pie filling is not a bad one to use canned. It was one of those things growing up where my grandma always made pies that way, and with canned. And so I remember asking her one time, have you ever made one from the pumpkin? do you know how to do that? And she said, no, I'm not sure how to do that. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to, I have to figure that out, how to do it. So anyway,
this looks amazing, by the way. You shared the photo, and
I am a little sad because my custard split, because usually my cooling method is a lot longer term, and this time I had to cool it quickly, and so because pumpkin pie is a custard pie. Meaning that
never really thought about that.
Yeah, eggs and milk sort of form the basis of it. And I didn't either. It was this year that I first thought of it as a custard pie because I was looking at some ways. This is becoming Pumpkin Pie Weekly, but I was looking at some ways to even further improve upon the pie. And I got a couple of tips for custard pies. It's actually a good idea to, after you've mixed everything together, to cook it on the stove. So you put it in a pan, like a saucepan or a saucepan if you're in the UK, and just barely let it simmer. And then you put it into the blind baked crust, at which point it's supposed to just help kind of melt the sugars, especially, and get everything mixed together. And I'm posting, there you go, Kevin. And so, yeah, I learned a new way to do that. But unfortunately, I had to cool it quickly. And in doing so, the custard split. But I just decided to make that into a reason to pre-cut the pie so that we didn't have folks taking too much of it at a time. Anyway.
That looks amazing. It's on the video feed if people are watching the video podcast, or on YouTube too.
Yes.
Nice. That's awesome.
You can watch it there. So speaking,
fantastic.
I was very happy with my pumpkin pie this year. It turned out better than I was expecting. And I also ended up learning how to make cranberry sauce after the fact,
nice.
Which it's a super easy thing to do. Basically, you just boil cranberries in some simple syrup, which
that makes sense.
Is not bad. But then I spiced it up and added some orange zest as well, because orange and cranberry help bring out the flavor. Like they not balance each other out. Yeah. They bring out the flavor of one another. So it's like more orange and more cranberry together whenever you use it. It's kind of neat. Nice. All right. There is our Thanksgiving ingredient recipe portion of the show. Let's talk about Google. The first Google story might have to be blurred out part of the headline because it does have a curse in it. But it says,
my bad.
The new Google Maps features will help you navigate the holiday shopping and then a certain kind of show. It's a 4-letter word. The holiday shopping mess we'll go with. Yeah.
Thanks, Flo.
And thanks, Flo. So if you are worried about having a bunch of people around you whenever you are trying to, go into a store for holiday shopping, then this is going to help you with that, just to kind of know what the traffic is looking like and what's going on there. It also is paired with another, I don't have it now. I can't find the link. I think 6 to 8 different outlets ended up covering this. So, Kevin, you could probably find it pretty quick. But Google has introduced a new search feature that is meant to help you navigate healthcare. So a lot of people use Google search to find a doctor, but the problem is that, one, they might not know what their insurance is, whether their insurance is covering. And then also if they speak a language other than English as their main language, they may have trouble finding a doctor that speaks their language. So Google search is giving you some options to sort of filter through things, not only with language filters, but also for some insurances, sure, insurances. For some insurances, it will also give you information about, yes, this doctor supports you. It's a little different here in Northern California because you kind of, there are a few other insurance companies, but there's kind of the big insurance company, which is Kaiser, which also happens to be the hospital and doctor and all that kind of stuff. So it's all one big healthcare thing. So you just have Kaiser insurance and then you go to the Kaiser Permanente locations. But back where I'm from, that is not how it works. We buy our insurance and it's a whole separate thing. And then you have to find a doctor that takes your insurance. So that can happen a little bit here, but for the most part, it seems like Kaiser's the way to go.
I have like California or like Obamacare or whatever. I don't know how you refer to it now, but and so I go through that same thing, and it is a pain. So that this actually seems super helpful.
I love this because, that's what I'm like. I am used to that being the way of doing things. And we still have to do that with our dentist and our eye doctor and all that. You know, you've got to find who takes your insurance. And when those change, then you have to find a new dentist in some cases, speaking from personal experience. And so that can be kind of troublesome. So this is nice that it's all sort of built in right there and easy to use. Let's see what else. Oh, I wanted to mention there are a bunch of new features coming to Android by the end of 2021. One of those is what is similar to iOS, which gives people the ability to unlock their cars with their phone. BMW vehicles will be able to interface with the Pixel 6, the Pixel 6 Pro, and the Samsung Galaxy S21 to let them use their phones as a car key. So, this is just a new car key feature. BMW's the first one, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more roll out in the coming months. There's also, it says other new Android Auto features that are coming soon include an option to have the car-friendly interface automatically launch when an Android phone is connected to the vehicle, a play button on the home screen to start music playback with a single tap, a new search icon to quickly find music, and new smart reply options for text messages. So basically, not CarPlay, Android Auto is getting better and more automated, which is important because, that's one of the things that I like with CarPlay is, you plug it in and it immediately starts.
Yeah, nice. I like that also that Android is getting the Family Bell thing that we've referenced a lot from the Home Hub. And I think you were gone that week, but when Jason Howell was saying his family loves that. And so I guess he's half Android, half iOS. I don't really know, but he could have used this as well. I was going to say I won't get any benefit, but I guess it's
the Family Bell feature.
It is on iOS as well, so not just Android. Oh wait, my bad. I was looking at the wrong article. That is the area of busyness thing from Google Maps.
Family Bell is mostly for broadcasting to the smart speakers and displays, and now on mobile devices, so that you can send out a message. It's like, hey, chime chime, it's time to eat, or hey, chime chime, it's time for family time, time to brush your teeth, time for pie, pie time. Oh man, that reminds me that I have another pie crust in the fridge I need to do something with.
I do also, so maybe I'll have to get your recipe.
Yeah, I would gladly share my recipe. I took it and adapted it from online, as I often do with recipes. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Now let me just tweak this just a hair. And then there's this big story, which is an interesting one. Google is rumored to be working on its first in-house smartwatch. And this could be seen as soon as the coming year. This would be likely a Pixel Watch. I missed this link. It's originally from Business Insider, or I guess they just now call it Insider, don't they? I am an insider. Don't ask me to pay. I've already paid. So this is why, never mind. No, that's me. No, it's not. This is why I was looking at the Verge article because it didn't get in my way. So Google, of course, has its Pixel devices, the Pixel 6, the Pixel 6 Pro. But one place that it hasn't sort of dipped its toes, or I guess wrists into, is the smartwatch factor and the smartwatch area. And so now it is doing that. this, I think, is really an interesting idea, because with Google making its own operating system that for watches, other watches, for the Samsung Galaxy Watch, et cetera, with Wear OS 3, and then also the fact that it bought Fitbit, this is finally us seeing those things kind of come together and rear some sort of, I wouldn't call it an ugly head, it's not ugly, so rear some sort of benefit from owning these different companies. Yeah,
exactly. And it does seem like it doesn't, they were saying it's not going to be a Fitbit. It will be most likely a Pixel Watch, just because that's how they call their own hardware and things like that. But probably not aimed at the health crowd, because they already do have Fitbit. So this is supposed to be like an Apple Watch competitor. So definitely very interesting. I want to.
Yes. I can't wait.
Competition is great in those realms, because it does push both companies to do even better. And I do think Apple needs to push on the Apple Watch, and like it's kind of been sort of stagnant for a couple. I mean, it's still really good at what it does, but it never got any better necessarily, or not that significant of a improved experience. And so just both of these rising will just make smartwatches better overall. Even just going back to that earlier story about the like car key thing, is just once the other technology in our lives steps up to smartwatches, I think are going to have a better role than just fitness. So maybe this is the year. I feel like, I don't know, it is weird how the pandemic made it seem like, oh yeah, that stuff will all come in the future. And now 2022 is like next year. And that's so weird. Like,
it's so close.
2024.
I will be curious to see sort of what product rollouts we do see next year, given that the supply shortage is
that's fair,
expected to carry into this coming year. So we'll see kind of how
Google
that plays
doesn't
out.
Make a ton of these, at least. Usually they don't ship them on the scale that Apple does. So
that's true. That's
maybe
very
that
true.
would help. But yeah.
We'll see. And then do you want to talk about Google's Look to Speak app? This is interesting. It comes right around the time that the FCC awarded Apple with an accessibility award. Let me make sure. Apple FCC accessibility. Here we go. FCC honors Apple with an award for iOS 14 accessibility features. These are always kind of a year in delay. And so this is called the Chairs Award for Advancement in Accessibility, alongside accessible pharmacy services for the blind and the COVID ASL hotline. Apple's iOS 14 won for its many accessibility features. It's good to see companies paying attention to, in a big way, accessibility features. And, now that I joined Leo on the Tech Guy show on Saturdays, you do hear from people who are talking about how they use iOS devices because they can better navigate them when they need to for accessibility reasons. I want someone to be able to purchase whatever smartphone they desire and have that level of access and usability, no matter what camp they're in. I think of Jason Howell, who is, entirely, carries around Android devices, and should that be a necessity in the future? And I know in the past it had been a necessity because he had, I think it was sand that got in his eye and it ended up scratching his cornea. And it was this whole thing where his eye was out of commission for a while, needing those accessibility features for that period of time. And I just I want everybody, no matter what device they're using, to be able to get full access to them. So this is great. Google's new Look to Speak accessibility app works in 17 more languages. So this is a coming together of not only accessibility, but a more broad-based approach to accessibility that's inclusionary of even more folks.
Yeah, definitely. It's like they added Arabic, Bengali, German, Spanish, both Spain and Latin American, French, Hindi, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Marathi, Portuguese, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, and Vietnamese. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've heard of Marathi before, but this app in general, I think I'm not sure exactly the specific use cases, but I do always just think of somebody who's in like a hospital bed and needs to do the like eye tracking stuff in order to do this. And so it's like, you can look to the left at the top word. If you look at the word hello, it'll say hello for you and things like that. So this is just like such cool technology, and seeing it expanded to all these different countries that's going to make a huge difference. Just thinking of how many people are in all of those countries and how many people might be in the hospital or need something like this is just like, that kind of stuff can be amazing. And this is why Google's Android being a lot more affordable than Apple stuff can make a huge difference in countries like that too. So this is very cool.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break before we come back with more news, more smart tech news. But I want to tell you about Hover. You've probably heard of Hover. I certainly have. Hover, you know me, I know you, because we do this exchange all the time. I hand over some dollars and you give me another website. And then I go, wow, that's the 590th website I've purchased. Why? Because Hover makes it so easy and so doggone delightful to purchase a domain name. It's time to make plans and let Hover help you achieve them. If you're a blogger, if you're creating a portfolio, if you're building an online store, if you're a podcaster who makes jokes about different things and then makes websites out of them, or you just want to make a more memorable redirect to your Twitter page, your LinkedIn page, your Facebook page, or Meta page, your Instagram page, your TikTok, Hover has the best domain names and email addresses just for you. In fact, just the other week, I bought bogosity.tech, and it redirects to a website of the tech guy where we started off the show talking about bogosity filters, which is you can learn by going to bogosity.tech. Hover is great for doing this. It's so fast that while I'm literally recording a podcast, I can go online, make a purchase for a domain name, and move on. Oh, so great. Email, by the way, at your domain name is key to connecting with customers and building trust for your brand. I have second thoughts if my lawyer emails me and it's yourlawyer@yahoo.com. Oh, suddenly I don't really feel like sending you these documents. So, this is a great way to make sure that you look as professional as you are. They have domain-based emails for all your needs, small or large, and it's so easy to set up. In fact, I've got one of my email addresses set up through Hover, and then a few more email forwardings set up through Hover. You can add as many mailboxes to your domain as you need, and when your domain renews, your mailboxes will too. And the prices are unbeatable. Their most popular mailbox is a no-brainer solution for business owners. In fact, another time we got a call on the Tech Guy show over the weekend, and the person was asking, and we ended up saying, yeah, Hover's the way to go because of those price savings that you get with Hover. You can get access from anywhere. You can use the email app you're already comfortable with. If apps aren't your thing, well, their webmail can be accessed wherever you are. I could go right now and do that if I wanted to. I've just purchase domains left and right because it's so simple. And I think one of the main things there too is the way that they don't try to upcharge you with stuff. There's a service called Who Is Privacy Protection. And essentially the way that works is the Who Is rules say that you have to include contact information for the person who owns the domain. And if you put that on there, if you put your contact information on there and you don't have Who Is Privacy Protection, well, then people can get access to that information and end up getting your address and your name and all that kind of stuff. They can scrape that stuff. So Who Is Privacy comes in and says, nah. And a lot of domain places will try to make you pay extra for that. Not Hover. It's included with your domain purchase, so your private information remains just that, private. And then there's also, for those of you who want to buy a domain and set something up quickly, there's Hover Connect. It lets you pick the service you want to use to build and host your website. So a lot of times there's a lot that goes into buying a domain from Hover or somewhere else and then going and setting all of that up with that third-party service. Hover said, let's try to make this easier for folks. If they want to, say, connect their Tumblr account to their Hover domain, you can click on it. You can move through that connect process and be able to set that up. It's very nice. There are lots of different services as you scroll through. You can see the different ones that are available. At Hover, you are a customer and not a source of data. So take back control of your data with reliable, tracker-free email. Yeah, some of those free email services out there, they are gathering the payouts through different nefarious means. But Hover, you are the customer and not the source of data. Hover is trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers who use their domain names and email to turn their ideas into reality. Whether you're a developer, a photographer, or a small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. So how do you go about doing this? Well, head to hover.com/twit, because when you do, you're going to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. That's hover.com/twit for 10% off your domain extension for a full year. And of course, we thank Hover for their support of this show and for supporting my habit of buying loads and loads of domains. Thank you, Hover. Thank you very much. All right. Moving to the next segment here. The first one comes from Spotify. This next bit of news comes from Spotify. It is, curiously, removing its special car view option. So when if you are a Spotify user, you may plug in your phone in your car, and in the past, like many an app, you would be able to see a special view that had kind of bigger controls, easier to see from a distance, so you knew what to press, when to press, and not feel like you have to focus in on on the phone when you should be driving and paying attention to the road. They've removed the feature for some reason, and they say that they're working on new ways to deliver the best in-car listening experience, which apparently is not the car thing that they make, because that's a super expensive way. But maybe that's what it is. They're like, hey, try our car thing instead of this. But I don't know, Matthew. It is a little odd to just remove it. Why not just keep it until they come up with something new? Why actually take it away?
I think this is what's kind of odd. And so just to be clear too, they aren't supporting Android Auto either. So it's actually...
Oh, so doubly bad.
Yeah. And they are, I'm finding other they basically said it on the forum too. So it does sort of feel like pushing people towards the car thing. I was going to say, what's that thing again? Just because it is their hardware strategy and a way to kind of make a dent in a consumer market in a different way, specifically for the car. Like, it is a thing that they now offer. And I just hate that this feels like it feels like Netflix not supporting the TV app on Apple TV, where it's just like, you're going to have a bad experience from now on just because we don't want to play ball. And like, I think that's just a loss for users, because I think it's kind of ridiculous to not support the system features and just be like, we're an audio app, but you can't control it in the car. That doesn't make any sense. And so this is a bad move from Spotify, and I feel like got buried, especially because they just dropped Wrapped the other day and everybody loves that. So it's kind of an odd change. And yeah, exactly. Some users say the change promotes unsafe driving. It's like actually having to look down at your phone and control it now too. So it's especially just weird because it's not like a temporary thing. They're just like, no, we're just not doing it anymore and we're not going to let you know. So we'll see. I think this is just kind of worth knowing, especially if you're confused why it isn't working anymore, but kind of odd. I'm not sure. I wonder if they'll do iOS too, but you can always use Siri at least. Yeah. Again, this just is kind of bizarre, and it's like, don't make something less usable. I understand not improving upon it while you are moving on to other things, but just making something less usable in the meantime just seems goofy and wrong. Yeah, exactly.
All right. This one is exciting because this is a continual upgrade and update to the Amazon devices that we have. I think it was just last week, 2 weeks ago now because of the Thanksgiving holiday, that I was talking to Dan Morin about the latest updates to ALEXA. And one of those is that the non-camera ALEXA devices can let out an ultrasonic sound. I think it's ultrasound sound that lets them, I can't remember which one it is, but anyway, it's a sound that humans don't hear. And by emitting that into the room and seeing when it bounces back, they are able to determine if there's a person in the room. And so you can use that as part of an automation system to say when someone's in the room, then do this. When someone's out of the room, then do this. And that is doubled by the other devices that do have cameras being able to use those cameras for similar features. And all of this comes together to make these devices all the more intelligent and all the better at truly automating your smart home. And now ALEXA, and this is what I love about this technology, is they can constantly iterate on this, and they are constantly iterating on this so that you don't always have to buy a new piece of hardware in order to get this working for you in your home. That's what makes this so amazing, is they can make updates to ALEXA itself and use the built-in hardware of these devices, and suddenly it's even better than it was before. So now your device can respond to the sound of running water and beeping, or as they say, bleeping appliances that will let you then give some sort of notification and movement to the different things. So they included in the ALEXA monthly roundup, which again, they have to do monthly roundups because they're always introducing new features. We talked about the conversation mode in that episode, so I won't cover that again. But ultrasound motion detection for routines, and then sound detectors for routines. So it says we've added water running and appliance beeping as 2 new sounds that customers can use to kick off ALEXA routines. For example, you can set a routine that enables ALEXA to send you a notification when your washer beeps to signify that your laundry is done, or have ALEXA remind you to turn off the sink if the kids accidentally left the water running after brushing their teeth. You can set up a sound detection routine in the ALEXA app. That is amazing, because then you start to think about how you could train this thing on specific sounds and use those specific sounds to trigger routines in your home. So maybe you have a neighbor who constantly makes the same sound throughout the day.
Construction for the past 9 months?
Like
what are you talking about, Micah? It's fine. It's totally fine. I'm not sick of it at all. Oh my God.
And it triggers a routine that, blasts an air horn back at them or something. There are all these different options. Those are just some of them. But I think this is amazing. And it just shows you the beginning of this. Now, a lot of this stuff is, depending on which device you're using, a lot of this stuff can happen on device with the chips that are built into the device. So you don't have to have it, sent off to the server, but in some cases it will. You just need to read the fine print there. It is very cool that it's going to be able to do this, and like they talk about. People will say like, "Oh, great, yes, let's have an open microphone in my house at all times." That's a great idea, and we talk about the benefit or lack of benefit, kind of weighing the scales on what is good or is not good and what you get from something. And so this continues to add to that of like, oh, there's more of a benefit to this than there was before. And suddenly it starts to make sense. It starts to be something that you can, feel comfortable with for the benefit that you get out of it. So yeah, I like that they're continuing to add stuff to make it better.
It especially makes sense from a smart home product point compared to the phone, because this is actually what I think. I was just looking at that FCC award for Apple's accessibility, and they were mentioning the sound recognition, and apparently everyone else had caught on to the fact that the coughing thing was what the most important thing was, that I only realized after like like 9 months of it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just log whenever you cough. But especially when you're doing it from a phone, your phone has to be there and set to that mode. And even specifically for iPhones, you have to disable Siri because it can't listen for Siri at the same time. So having this on a smart home device that is just always listening already makes a lot of sense. And the water running and appliances beeping thing is good. It is just like, don't just leave that going. Or I'm curious too, how deep the routines are, because even I thought of like the appliances beeping is just like, I had something in the microwave or something like that, and then I wanted just an alert on my phone, and that alone is just like nice if you're wearing noise canceling headphones or something like that too. So these things have a lot of different uses. It's really nice. Then the other angle on this story too is that if you are part of Amazon Pharmacy, you can just say refill my medications, and Amazon will do that for you. So pretty solid stuff. I do want to try. Have you tried conversation mode at all? Because
I don't have a device that supports it.
Oh, it's the new ones.
Yeah, it requires the new ones. So I don't. Yeah, I don't have a device that supports it. But
I thought they already had this. I don't understand.
They had a type of conversation mode,
like
but this one is incredibly intelligent because it will go as far as noticing when it is no longer being talked to and sort of ducking out of the conversation. So it's like wallflower mode, which I think is a pretty cool feature that feels more natural. And so the reason why conversation mode was invented is because when I'm having a conversation with you, I don't constantly start it by saying, Matthew. I don't constantly have a conversation with you by saying Matthew at the beginning of every single sentence. So they wanted to make that better, which is good.
I've been like getting sick of Siri. I'm not gonna lie. When it's especially ones where it's like Siri stop, and then she goes, there's nothing playing. Stop here. Like, go check in the home app. I'm like, please shut up. Just stop responding to me.
Stop saying more words.
It always like now identifies that it heard me specifically because it's doing the voice recognition. So it's like, all right, Matthew, I put that in your reminders list. And I'm like, just do it. Please stop talking. Like, so maybe a more natural conversation would be nice. Especially if you do actually just want to get like multiple pieces of information, asking it the same word again and again is just, you're clearly addressing a robot versus a actual smart assistant. So I got to try that out myself. Nice.
All right. Next, Twinkly. You all may have heard of Twinkly. Twinkly is the company that makes automated Christmas lights or automated holiday lights. One thing that it hasn't had up to this point is HomeKit support. And now they've added HomeKit support for Twinkly lights. So you obviously aren't going to get all of the true magic that happens whenever you use the Twinkly app. There's like music synchronization and painting the colors onto the lights and all that kind of stuff. But despite that, you will get a lot of those, or the ability to, make adjustments to the lighting and turn the lights on and off, which is nice, especially if you have lots of HomeKit scenes or want to control as much as you can in the app. This will let you do that. So yeah, I'm glad that they've added this feature.
Yeah, pretty solid. It looks like the main 400 string light is $170. So it's a little bit like, obviously it's going to be more pricey than regular ones, but I totally want to, just seeing now that they have HomeKit support is like, hey, you guys should add some shortcut support too, because then you probably could get the whole experience that they have in the app too. That is what something like LifeX enables through their app and not through HomeKit. So this is pretty solid, and it is just like, I love it when it's already built in and then you're not repurposing. Like, I'm going to have to definitely unplug some lights just to have the smart plugs back for my Christmas tree lights and stuff like that. So having it just built in with HomeKit sounds pretty solid. Nice.
Agreed. And then last but not least here, Honeywell now has a smart thermostat that has HomeKit support. So this was something that was promised for a long time from Honeywell, that the T9 would get HomeKit support, and people were waiting, and it is finally come after all this time. So you can get the T9 from Honeywell, And if you already have the T9 from Honeywell as your smart thermostat, then you can take advantage of the HomeKit support because it's there.
Yeah, pretty nice. And they have kind of changed their brand into Residio. So actually, even I think the link that is in that article doesn't work anymore. So I'll have to I can find a new one, but pretty solid. I feel like just seeing
Honeywell's a pretty popular
school,
thermostat brand. So
that's what I was going to say. Is just seeing the big brands actually do this stuff is important too, and especially with just Matter on that and on the horizon, it is like might as well get in all of these and get them ready for that next setup. So it's funny that we're in 2022 we're almost in 2022 and Honeywell is like just getting into that realm. I mean, they've had it support on some of their other products too, but like get it together.
Get it together, folks. All right. Let's see. We could take a quick break and then we'll come back with more. We'll come back with a little conversation about vehicles. I think that tends to be one of the topics we end up covering on this show. And so let me tell you, though, before we get to that, about BetterHelp, who are bringing you this episode of Smart Tech today. So excited to be talking about BetterHelp here. Is there something out there that might be preventing you from achieving your goals? Do you know what interferes with your happiness? Well, check out betterhelp.com/STT. You might be able to find some answers there. What is BetterHelp? Well, it's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. I went to BetterHelp's site and I signed up, and they ask you some questions about yourself. It starts with, typical questions of, I think, your obviously your name, and I think it asks your age. And then the questions start to look familiar. If you've ever spoken to a psychologist or psychiatrist, you'll be familiar with some of the questions that are asking the typical sort of survey surrounding depression, anxiety, and that kind of thing. So those will look familiar. And then they ask you some questions that are more in-depth to help get kind of a profile and understanding of you. So they ask you about your, if you are particularly religious, or if you consider yourself spiritual, if you like all sorts of questions that help kind of drill down to help you find a therapist that's actually going to be the right therapist for you. Because that is one of the hardest things about therapy, is auditioning a bunch of therapists to find one that you feel comfortable talking to. Because that's kind of the big thing. You need someone who you feel comfortable with. And in order to find someone that you feel comfortable with, sometimes that means going through several therapists until you find the right one. But what if that process could be a little bit easier? And that's what BetterHelp helps you do. You fill all of that out, and then the licensed therapists on the platform can go, no, I don't think I'd be able to help that person. No, that one's not for me. And then there's another therapist that comes along and goes, oh, that one's perfect for me. That one's perfect for me. I will be able to help those people because we line up. So I put in my information, and I think it was under 24 hours for me. You can start communicating under 48 hours, but mine took even less time than that. And I had a therapist matched with me. She sent me a long message that I imagine she sends to all of the first-time patients, just to let me know a little bit more about her, so I could say, yes, that's a person for me, or no, I don't really feel like it is. Everything that was there, and including some kind of testimonials, was all like, okay, I could see this person working for me. So I said yes. And I had my first chat with her. She was getting to know me. I was getting to know her. And she was, kind of going through her approach and everything like that. And I kid you not, she starts talking about quantum physics and was relating quantum physics to some of the sort of emotional aspects of therapy. And I almost had this jaw-dropping moment of like, how did I find the perfect therapist for me? She's talking about quantum physics in our first conversation. This nerdy person is perfect. I was pumped. But the good thing is, hey, maybe the quantum physics nerd is not the right person for you. That's okay, because BetterHelp is going to help assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can do it in a safe and private online environment. You can send a message to your counselor anytime, and then you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can also schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all without ever having to sit in one of those uncomfortable waiting rooms with the weird carpets and the strange wallpaper on the wall. It's really nice to know that if I need to, I can just message her and get a response in between our video sessions. Super cool. It's committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change a counselor if you need to. Yes, it's easy and it's free to change the counselor. That means it's also more affordable than traditional offline counseling. And by the way, financial aid is available. So even if you thought, I don't know if therapy is something I can afford, but I really do need it, check it out for that financial aid option. The service is available for clients worldwide, and you can find the particular expertise you need online, so you don't have to limit yourself to the counselors that are located near you. And hey, they specialize in a lot of stuff: depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBTQ plus matters, grief, self-esteem, all sorts of different things that you might be dealing with. And anything you share is confidential. It's convenient, it's professional, it's affordable. You can check out the testimonials posted daily on the BetterHelp site. And this is kind of wild. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Look, we want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you can get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/STT. Join more than 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/STT to check out BetterHelp. So cool. So cool. I really do. The counselor I got matched with, such a cool person. She's amazing. So thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. Truly, go check it out. If you've been thinking about checking out therapy and it's just things haven't come around, this may be your opportunity. BetterHelp.com/STT. All right. Imagine a world where you can place an order for a 32-ounce soft drink and it can be delivered directly to your door. Now open your eyes and look around. You live in that world. 7-Eleven and Nuro, that's Nuro, have apparently partnered up to provide autonomous deliveries in California, autonomous vehicle deliveries. So it's not just autonomous deliveries. They just somehow magically appear on your doorstep floating to your house. No, autonomous vehicle deliveries. This is specific to Mountain View, California. Residents can place orders through the 7Now app, which I guess is, I had no idea that 7-Eleven had a 7Now app. But yes, your local convenience store has its own app, and you may get an autonomous vehicle delivering items to your location. I'm just thinking now, Matthew, of living in Mountain View, California, and being like, yeah, there's another one. There have to be so many autonomous vehicles driving around Mountain View.
There goes a Slurpee, just like...
It says autonomous deliveries don't cost customers anything extra. They're available from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. Pacific every day, and the company say orders should arrive in around 30 minutes. When the AV arrives, customers collect their items from the rear. There are some limitations. Obviously, you can't order age-restricted items like alcohol, tobacco, or lottery tickets. And it says Nuro will initially use self-driving Priuses with a human operator monitoring the tech from the driver's seat. So eventually... the Nuro R2 robot will be the one making the deliveries. But right now, there will be some human being watching you as you get into the rear of the vehicle and pick up your bevy from the vehicle. But yeah, I think this is really interesting. We just talked, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about the first autonomous taxi, essentially. The first autonomous taxi service in San Francisco, and how somebody took a completely autonomous ride, or several of them, all around San Francisco. And that, when I say completely autonomous, I mean there was not an operator of human variety in the vehicle with the person. It was just the vehicle driving itself around. So, this might be right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. This is just all fascinating to see, especially, I don't know, again, like I was saying earlier, this is, we'll probably see this in like 2022 or something like that. It's like, no, that's next 3 weeks from now. Like, so I guess we'll look out for it. Maybe we'll have to do a trip down there. Probably.
Literally look out for it. Oh yeah, that'd be so fun. We go
just
and
go order 7-Eleven.
Yeah, like, I'm here at this McDonald's parking lot.
Don't go to the 7-Eleven. Yeah, go somewhere else and then order 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you gotta like go stand in the parking lot of some grocery store or something. It's like, yeah, I'm ordering. Why are you here? I'm waiting for my 7-Eleven Slurpee. I would never drink one of those though, because do they have sugar-free options? Can you imagine how much sugar is in a Slurpee? Anyway, in vehicles, there's a safety feature that Uber is bringing to the United States. It is an audio recording feature that will work to make sure that, or to help kind of make things safer. So this is what Engadget says about it. Before they get in the car, a rider will see in the Uber app whether the driver has opted into audio recordings. And you can cancel the ride if you don't want to be recorded. So if you see that and you're like, nah, not for me, then you can cancel the ride. It says you can capture audio by tapping the shield button on the app's map screen and choosing the record audio option. Everyone can record individual trips, and drivers have the choice to leave the feature on the entire time they're available for rides. The recordings are stored on the rider's and driver's devices, but they won't be able to listen to them. The recordings are encrypted, and Uber says it can't access them unless a driver or rider submits a safety report with an attached audio file. A safety agent can decrypt and listen to the recording when they review the report and then take appropriate action if necessary. So that is kind of a cool feature where you're not just getting a bunch of audio recordings that you can play back later and go, yes, that's the sound of me breathing in the back and trying not to talk to the Uber driver who's asking me about my day. It will take a safety concern for the message, the audio recording to get sent off, and only the safety agent can decrypt the message, the file, and be able to listen to it. Now, this was originally introduced in Latin America 2 years ago, and 70% of drivers and riders who were surveyed said, yeah, we feel safer when we're using this. I think I too would feel safer using that. I already don't confess to my horrible crimes when I'm in the back of an Uber, so I wouldn't start doing that. And I would instead like the ability to have that recording available in case I needed it to either prove something or to, just give. Because there have been a few times where the driver was not being very safe in their driving, and maybe having a little bit of context with the audio would have been helpful. And then I also had a friend who experienced a really horrible situation where they unwittingly got into the wrong Uber, and that Uber driver took advantage of the fact that they had gotten into the wrong Uber. And if there was, and it is definitely an OG's thing. And that's exactly what this is all about. Yeah, that's why this is here. And that I would, from that point on, I hope that there will be a setting that's like, if the person doesn't allow audio recording, like I don't even want to see those drivers. I only want to see the drivers that have that feature turned on, because that would make me feel a lot safer in an Uber for sure.
I feel like this, I don't understand why this, I just realized that this story kind of buries the lead that I feel like is more relevant. That I think this part is really helpful, but there's also the ride check feature improved with where if you are just like going on a route that you weren't signed up for, or if they end the destination before you actually get there, it will like identify that now and ask if there's a problem and have an emergency report and things like that. Like, I think the audio thing is like the base level of what they should have, but when something is actually going wrong, I feel like that's what I see is they're trying to take you to the wrong spot, or like they turned and you're not going the right way. And it's, this does just seem like, I'm glad that they're doing this. I feel like I wish they had done it a long time ago, but this seems like, other than video, they have like all of the other options filled out now. It is like whether or not you're in the right place, what happened while you were there based on the audio and things like that. So this does seem like really good rider protections, and that stuff is so important. Like, especially with Uber, that is just terrifying that it's just your person. And so that's a whole different story than any other service. So I'm glad they're doing this.
Me too. Absolutely. And then let's move on to talk about Microsoft. This first story is really fascinating. Microsoft has just had a breakthrough in its ongoing kind of attempt to use DNA for storage. So this is one of the fascinating things about sort of the state of technology, is that we're pretty sure that pretty soon we're going to run out of storage space in the way that we currently keep it. One of the problems is that at the very basis of our data storage methods are ones and zeros. And it's either a 0 or it's a 1, which is sort of 2 points on which everything else is based. And these different scientists and researchers who are looking at a way to improve upon our storage methods have realized that DNA could be a great way to store information because of what DNA is made up of, or of what DNA is made up. Yes. So instead, it would use, you probably remember from your time in school, ATGC, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine as those basic blocks of DNA. If you use those pairs, then you've got more information that you can use to have DNA. So it says, it turns out you can use DNA to convert ones and zeros into those 4 letters for storing complex data. So that means there's even more availability with all of those. It says, the company announced in a new research paper the first nanoscale DNA storage writer, which the research group expects to scale for a DNA write density of 25 times 10 to the 6th power sequences per square centimeter, or 3 orders of magnitude more tightly than before. And that means that's more tightly than the previous versions of doing this, not more tightly than the 1-0 method of storing data. So it says DNA has a density capable of storing 1 exabyte or 1 billion gigabytes per square inch.
Jesus.
That is many magnitudes larger than what the best storage option we have right now, called linear type open magnetic tape, which I believe that's used in many different sort of archival storage facilities, is the LTO magnetic tape. So instead of that, 1 exabyte, 1 billion gigabytes per square inch. It says the International Data Corporation, I'm pulling this from this Gizmodo article, the International Data Corporation predicts data storage demands will reach 9 zettabytes by 2024. Only 1 zettabyte of storage would be used if Windows 11 were downloaded on 15 billion devices. Using current methods, that data would need to be stored on millions of tape cartridges, the ones that we have right now. Cut the tape and use DNA, and 9 zettabytes of information can be stored in an area as small as a refrigerator. Every movie ever released could fit in the footprint of a sugar cube. This is so mind-blowingly incredible. Like, I'm so glad that they're giving these explanations to help us understand.
Yeah, seriously.
Now, this is the other thing, is that the reason we use LTO magnetic tape is because along with being a very efficient storage method as it stands, it is also a long-lived storage method. You burn something onto a CD, and shortly in the span of things, it's going to get off of that CD. It says data stored on DNA can last for thousands of years, whereas data loss occurs on tape with 30 years, and of course, even sooner on solid state drives and hard disk drives. So 30 years is what we have for the tape. So every 30 years, or a little bit before that, we got to recopy that data and put it on new magnetic tape. But with the DNA method, it can be stored for thousands of years because of how incredible DNA is. So Microsoft is really working hard on this to make it happen. And my God, all of the movies ever made could be stored on a sugar cube. Can you suddenly imagine, instead of this SD card, I just plug a little sugar cube into a camera? I wouldn't even need that much, but like, start to think about these little tiny things that you plug into your DSLR, and suddenly you've got 50,000 hours of footage you can record before you ever have to try to dump things off of it. And it's all because of DNA. That is magical. The first DNA drive. So cool. So anyway, that's something that's coming in the future. Incredibly smart tech, and had to share that on the show because just amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot of people, I think, at first may have sort of poo-pooed Xbox Cloud gaming on non-Xbox or computer devices, on PC devices. That these devices, that this service would be a way for people to play the really in-depth games on different screens, but maybe not on their iPhone, their iPad, their Android phone, etc. But it turns out 20% of Xbox Cloud gaming players right now use touch controls exclusively. Like, they don't have a controller connected to it. They don't have other things connected to make it work, that, your keyboard or what have you. 20% of the players are just using the touch controls. It says, Monty Hernandez, who's a senior program manager at Xbox, says, it's important to us that the touch-enabled games we launch are relevant and, most importantly, play well with touch controls. A lot of times that is a secondary thing. They start to think about the touch controls afterward. There are individual games where 30% of players are using touch controls exclusively, including Hades, which is an incredibly popular game, New Super Lucky's Tale, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Scarlet Nexus, Dragon's Quest 11, Minecraft Dungeons, and Football Manager 2022 Xbox Edition. God, that sounds so fun. These all are 30% of people are using touch controls. That's so neat that there are so many people that are playing these games on kind of exclusively touch control devices. But more importantly, that not only is it because they're making the touch controls good on these games, but this also encourages other developers to make sure that the touch controls are good on these games, because they could be missing out on a whole lot of customers if they're not using these methods.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, you can leave those people behind, and those people deserve to be able to play this too. I think what's also, I've noticed in the last couple of years, is Xbox has released a lot of, or they just reinvested in the indie gaming ecosystem, which a lot of those developers make stuff for the Switch and things like that. Not that their touch controls are relevant, but just, and a lot of games are going from like Apple Arcade to Switch and to like Xbox Game Pass especially. And so some of those would have to develop actual controls that weren't touch controls just for that platform. And then now if you're over the cloud and stuff like that too, you can go back to the touch controls as well. So it's kind of just a rounding out of all of that as well. I'd have to try it myself. I think that's I think it does depend on the game, especially. Like, there's no way you could play Apex Legends with touch controls or something like that. But for some of these other ones, I think it does make sense.
I'm going to try harder.
Okay, you can't
I
win a
hear
match. How's that?
Yeah, Kevin says, I'd break my screen if I was playing Hades on a touch screen. My buttons on the Switch already took a massive beating. Oh, yeah,
exactly.
that's true. If you're like, pop, 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 pop. But maybe, I don't know, I haven't tried any of these sort of more in-depth games using, because I really like the Luna controller. So I end up, using a controller for these. But I think this would feel like what typing on an iPad for me feels like. I don't like to do it. I use the keyboard that comes, because of that feels better. So yeah. All right. The last bit of Microsoft news, I think this is super cool. I have to give a shout out to Stacy on IoT, Stacy Higginbotham, who tweeted about this. I was about to say tweeted about this on Twitter. Where else do you tweet about things? Come on, Micah. Who tweeted about this. You can sign up it's on December 8th from 11 to 12 p.m. Pacific. Oh, I forgot to sign up. I meant to. And it is a live stream where they walk you through. Now I'm waiting for the load screen because I just signed up. I should have waited. I'm just going to read the description because I think this is the best way to understand. Be the life of your holiday party by lighting up your holiday sweater with Azure IoT Central. Attend this session to learn the basics of connecting and controlling RGB LEDs with an Azure IoT Dev Kit or Espressif ESP32 development board and Azure IoT Central. We'll share a few implementation options so you can get some fun ideas and walk away with a plan to start creating your own masterpiece. So this is so fun. You can take your ugly sweater and you can learn how to program a set of RGB LEDs on your ugly sweater so that it's not just a light up sweater and it's not just an ugly sweater and it's not just an ugly sweater that lights up that you bought from the store. It's an ugly sweater that lights up that you made yourself and designed exactly how you wanted it to. So fun. And I love that this is available for folks. The registration process looks like I just need to put in a little bit of my information. I put in my email and then asks me first name, last name, job role, company, country, postal code, whether I've attended a Microsoft event before, and if it's my first Reactor event. And it is. And so we'll include a link in the show notes, but it seems to be at developer.microsoft.com, and it's under Reactor. Microsoft Reactor connects you with developers and startups that share your goals. Learn new skills, meet new peers, and find career mentorship. Attend expert panels and dive into what inspires you with the latest technology. Virtual events are running around the clock, so join us anytime, anywhere. So yeah, I don't think this costs. I don't see anything that says that. So yeah, you can check it out and see if you do end up needing
promoting Azure. So yeah.
Exactly. So kind of neat.
That's pretty cool. You get your whole thing set up. I just want, it's like make your own smart holiday sweater is pretty awesome. So
right. And I wonder, you might learn how to connect it to sound. You might learn how to, there are all these different kinds of automations and things you can do with it. So super cool. All right. We're going to take another quick break here, and then we will be back to talk about our picks of the week. I want to tell you about userway.org. So glad to have Userway as a sponsor on the network. Userway has a vision. They are interested in making the web more accessible. Every website, without exception, needs to be accessible because it's a public entity. So websites are considered public entities. And so because of that, they need to be accessible. That sure is a good reason, but I think the better reason is that it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to make your website accessible for everyone. It's federal ADA law that mandates equal access to services for all Americans, like your website. Federal ADA law says you need to have an accessible website. And this is kind of wild. You could be liable if your website does not meet ADA laws for accessibility. So what do? Well, Userway could come in. It has an incredible AI-powered solution that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of WCAG guidelines. With just one line of JavaScript, Userway can achieve more than an entire team of developers. Userway's AI and machine learning solutions power accessibility for more than 1 million websites. Name them, you say? All right. How about these brands? It's trusted by Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay, FedEx. And that's just a few. That's just a few of the leading brands that are behind the accessibility of these leading websites. And now UserWay is making its best-in-class enterprise-level accessibility tools available to small and medium businesses like yours. When you scale, you need UserWay. An accessible and compliant website isn't only the right thing to do, it also just makes business sense. If you need that to justify it, then go with that. It makes business sense. Because the Achilles heel of websites, those are registration forms, nav menus, and shopping carts that are not accessible. Guess what? There are millions of people who will require UserWay just to purchase your products. For years, UserWay has been on the cutting edge. They've been creating innovative accessibility technologies that push the envelope of what's possible with AI, with machine learning, and with computer vision. UserWay's AI automatically fixes violations at the code level. And by the way, here are some of the things that UserWay does. It auto-generates image alts, so it'll write those image descriptions for you. You don't have to go through and write them yourself. It can look and see what that image is with the AI and then provide a proper image alt for that image. It remediates complex nav menus and ensures all pop-ups are accessible. It fixes vague link violations and fixes any broken links. And this one I think is pretty neat, especially neat. It ensures your website makes use of accessible colors, all while remaining true to your brand. It can do that by making adjustments to saturation and luminance and leave your brand intact. It gives you a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website. So then you can take that to your boss and go, look at all these things we missed. Thank God we have UserWay. This is why we have UserWay. UserWay, by the way, is platform agnostic. So, hey, if you're using WordPress, Shopify, or Wix, well, UserWay is cost-effective and easy to add. And the same goes for you folks using AAM, Sitecore, or SharePoint. UserWay integrates seamlessly with all. So, let UserWay help your business meet its compliance goals and improve the experience for your users. Check out their free scanning tool to see if your website is ADA compliant. By the way, the voice of Siri, who's considered the world's most popular voice assistant, has a message about UserWay.
UserWay is trusted by more than 1 million websites and 60 million users with disabilities. Visit userway.org to learn how one line of code can make your website accessible.
Thank you, Susan Bennett. UserWay can make any website fully accessible and ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly and customize it to fit their needs. It's also a perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. So go to userway.org/twit and get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. Visit userway.org/twit today. And thanks so much to UserWay for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. Matthew Cashinelli, tell me about your pick of the week.
This is an amazing product. I feel like it's sometimes I push the borders of whether it's actually smart or not, but I feel like it's just such a smart buy that I feel like it qualifies, because this is one of those things where you're like, yes, why hasn't this existed? And it should exist and everyone should get it. Assuming you need it, but it's a jacket for your legs. Also known as a blanket in some ways, but I always think about this, especially their prime example is the first times that I really experienced it was going to a outdoor sports game where you sit there and you are perfectly happy on top, all covered in a nice jacket, and then your legs are just freezing because there's nothing covering them besides your pants. Obviously, like leg warmers and stuff like that are helpful, but this is just basically a little blanket that you can wrap around the lower half of your body, and then it has little pockets in it too, so you can easily access your phone or like a beverage and a koozie thing sort of situation. But this is just a pretty clever, it's also built with really good technology for trapping heat in also. And so it's like 5 times warmer than a stadium blanket and 10 times warmer than jeans alone. So they like measured it and you only lose 6 degrees versus 32 degrees or 56 in jeans. So it's actually seems like it does the job very well. I think this, again, is one of those specific things, but I set up this whole little backyard thing in the like strip of barely any land that we have behind our house, but we pretty much can't use it most of the year because it gets cold at night, and otherwise there's just no sun hitting it. And so something like this that would just let you chill out there and still be totally cozy sounds pretty awesome. And you gotta love the silliness of it as well. I feel like is undeniable that there is just like, you go to the wow, I can't even think of the tailgates, and you just have like this leg blanket around your waist. Is like, that's one of those things where you're like, that's kind of dumb, but I'm super jealous of you right now. Sort of situation. So they have different sizes and like waterproof, or there's like a hard shell versus a soft shell version. So they do seem to be on sale. So I hope that that's more than their normal price, but the cheaper one is $69, normally $120, and then the bigger one is $85, normally $140. So pretty solid winter thing, I feel like, especially if you live in a cold area. This actually would be like, oh, I could go sit outside of my backyard and like have a cup of coffee in the morning and just be able to enjoy that a little bit instead of not go outside for all winter months or something like that. So yeah. It's called Mosey. I guess I should say the name, not just Jacket for Your Legs.
Jacket for Your Legs. Look, if I can recommend a company that sells spices, then you can absolutely recommend a product that is smart, even if it doesn't have a Wi-Fi connection. So if you need it, you didn't need that permission, but I'm giving it to you anyway. That's absolutely okay. You're welcome. There are times, particularly again, back in Missouri during the winter, where you would have tailgates and things like that, and it would get so cold and your knees would freeze. And that would be nice to have to keep, because my kneecaps will go numb sometimes if I get too cold. And if I'm sitting and I get too cold, my kneecaps will go numb. So this would have been nice to have. I don't experience it so much here, but dog, or is that a cat? No, I think it's a dog.
It's a dog.
Anyway, so yeah, check that out. My pick of the week. This is actually more of a what is that? Not stay tuned. Watch this space. I think it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, and I think maybe we talked about it before when Jason Howell was on. Google was running a deal where you could get a Google Nest Hub, open parentheses, 2nd gen, close parentheses.
2nd gen Nest Hub has been released. You can buy one on some retailers.
Anyway, you could get one for free by changing your Google One storage plan to a yearly plan. So if you're paying per month and you say, I'll just pay $99.99 a year instead, then you could get a Nest Hub for free. So I did that because why not? I was already paying for Google One because I do have an Android phone. And so I could get this for, well, that was the deal, I guess. You get this extra. I hate to say for free because there was an exchange of funds. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying watch this space, though, is because this Google Nest Hub, it doesn't have a camera, but it does use the special sleep tracking features that we talked about, where you place it in your room and it uses the like radar-y type features to, the reason I say it like that is because there are some pedants who would be like, it's not exactly radar, it's not exactly this.
It's solely.
Yeah, it's solely. So the sleep tracking features that are on it, I want to compare it to the under mattress sleep tracker that I have. And so that is me letting you know that I am testing this to see how I feel it compares to the other kind of sleep tracker. And I will be reporting here on that. If you would like to get a Google Nest Hub, open parentheses, 2nd gen, close parentheses, I believe the deal is over now. So $99.99 is the price that it starts at. They were out of stock of the black one or the charcoal one, which is the one I wanted. So I did have to go with the white one. It's just because it's in my bedroom, so I wanted it to be dark. But alas, it was not meant to be. But I am excited to have a little digital picture frame in my bedroom because right now the only digital picture frames are in other places. So yeah.
I've noticed too the AQI thing that they just released a couple of months ago has been constantly on mine since Thanksgiving, pretty much, because people like wood fires in the Bay Area so much so that there's constant pollution in the air, so much that it's like not actually, I mean, it's fine to breathe. It's not great if you're sensitive to it, but it's like, it's not been clear for the last week because everybody's at home lighting fires in their houses, which is like, come on, guys. So that ambient information is really nice though, because I have noticed for the last week that the air quality hasn't been as good. Otherwise, I might not have checked. So nice. I'm excited to see how it does, especially for the sleep thing. I mean, that's the most important part. And I think even my initial reaction was so like sketched out by it, but it's still, I think the way those improvements that they were making recently of like, you really can see when you're awake and asleep and not your partner's sounds and things like that makes this seem like a solid buy. So cool. I want to know. Let me know.
I will definitely be letting everyone know about how it goes. I'm excited. I'm really excited. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of this episode of Smart Tech Today, which means it's time to say goodbye. If you have things you'd like to send our way, you can email us. It's stt@twit.tv. We keep it very simple. You can also tune in to watch the show live if you'd like every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 21:30 UTC. Man, that UTC time always scares me. Sometimes I get it wrong, but certainly 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. By going to twit.tv/live. But we think the best way to get the show is by subscribing to the show, which you can do by going to twit.tv/STT and clicking subscribe to audio or subscribe to video and choosing the service of your choice. Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc., etc. By the way, another great thing is a little service we like to call, because that's what it's called, Club Twit. For $7 a month, you can get every single Twit show with no ads. Ooh, that's nice. Plus, you get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else. It's before show, after show, above the show, below the show, behind the scenes, etc. And access to the access to the members-only Discord server, which is a place you can go and chat with your fellow Club Twit members and others. If you're going, what is a Discord server? Breathe. If you've ever used Microsoft Teams or Slack or one of those messaging platforms, you'll be familiar with it. It's a lot like that. It's a place to just chat with your friends that are fellow Club Twit members, but also hosts and producers and all the folks here at Twit as well. Twit.tv/clubtwit, $7 a month. And by the way, if you're watching this show and you are in a position of power at a business, you should know we just had a really great corporate sign-on where it seems like the company was looking to give their employees the gift of Twit, ad-free, as well as the other Club Twit members. We've got some corporate slots available, so you can go in and get, a bunch of seats, so to speak, for your corporation and hand those out, and then that will give your employees a nice stocking stuffer of Club Twit for the period of time that you subscribe. So we're pumped to see a company sign on, and this is a great time to consider that for yourself as well. I should also mention that, some folks wanted to just support individual shows directly, and they were wondering if that was going to be a possibility. Well, it is if you use Apple Podcasts. If you do, you can find the audio stream of the show, the audio feed of the show for Smart Tech Today, and subscribe for $2.99 a month in Apple Podcasts. That will give you the ad-free version of the audio feed right there in your podcast app, and then you'll be supporting us directly, which is pretty awesome. Matthew Casanelli, if folks want to follow you online and check out all your great work, where do you go? Where do they go to do so?
You should follow me on Twitter at Matt Casanelli, and I tend to tweet out all of my new shortcut stuff, ideas, and then I've been integrating my newsletter through Twitter's email service review, so you can sign up for my newsletter right there and learn about what's new in shortcuts every week. What about you?
Awesome. I love getting that email and being able to check out what you have to share with us. It pops up and
Good
I'm
to
like, there's Matthew. Yes, I am one of your newsletter readers. And I always look forward to seeing that email pop up so I can go,
Nice.
All right, here's what I can do now. Or here's what I didn't realize I could do, which is most often the case. I wish that Apple would do kind of what Amazon does and Google does with its assistants, where they're just always adding new features. And I wish they'd do that with Siri and with shortcuts.
Let me tell you that the Amazon email coming every Friday telling you what to do with Amazon is exactly how I built and literally copied the exact style from my original version of my newsletter. So it's moved away from that since then. But I took the Amazon email has the ALEXA animation at the top, and I had someone make a shortcuts animation that like loaded like that just because. And it was just waste of
I don't know why I didn't connect the two. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was just a minor thing, but originally it was just supposed to be like blank Siri, do this shortcut. And then that was the same email the way Amazon's did. But eventually I was like, maybe I should explain these a little bit more. And now I've got like all the tweets and stuff from people each week. So I feel like it's really helped me just put a mark in the ground every week of here's what's new and here's what's changed. And so it has been a fun newsletter. So definitely sign up if you're listening. What about your Chihuahua coffee?
Yes, you can head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Or just type in @Micah Sargent on many a social media network, and you will be able to find me there as well. Folks, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Smart Tech Today. We appreciate you. We think you're fantastic. And we can't wait to see you next week. Until then, it's time to say good afternoon to your smart assistants because they're always listening, Google.
Well, you don't have to now because it knows you're in there. So as soon as you leave,
that's right. It's letting out sounds. What do you know?
See you next week.
Bye.
So you got yourself the brand new latest and greatest iPhone or Samsung smartphone because you heard about all of the beautiful photography those things can create. But for some reason, you're just not quite getting it done when you try to make your photos. Or you got yourself a brand new camera because you were interested in getting started in photography, but your little new inexpensive camera still isn't quite cutting it. Well, you need to check out my show, Hands-On Photography, here on Twit. I'm going to show you how to be a better photographer and a better post-processor, and quite frankly, just help you get the most out of that new camera that's either on your phone or the brand new one that you just got for your birthday or gifts or what have you. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So head on over to twit.tv/hop. That's twit.tv/HOP and subscribe today.